HBO's The Wire follows the drug scene in Baltimore. What starts off as a seemingly straightforward cops versus kingpins show develops into an incredible critique of the systems which keep the cycle of drugs and violence in the city flowing and hamper efforts to initiate change for the betterment of Maryland's inhabitants. Perhaps the most iconic character in The Wire is Omar Little, the legendary hood stick-up man who robs drug dealers. Omar develops a reputation over the course of the show and draws the attention of the Barksdale organization, led by Avon Barksdale and his number 2, Stringer Bell. The Barksdales do not want to have their reputation damaged by being robbed by Omar, but fail in their attempts to kill him. When the Barksdales torture a young man who is close to Omar's heart, Omar launches a revenge campaign against the Barksdales, and what plays out is a feud between two parties, Omar and the Barksdales, in particular, Stringer Bell. Stringer is at odds with Avon over how to run the streets, preferring to cut a deal with rival drug kingpin Proposition Joe for good product in exchange for giving Joe some territory to sell the product on, preferring a modern approach to the game instead of the violent old ways. Season 3, where this happens, is all about reform, and Stringer's attempts to reform the game is at the heart of the season. Not knowing Stringer has cut a deal with Prop Joe, Avon sends in legendary hitter Brother Mouzone in to drive Joe's East Side goons off his territory. So Stringer comes up with a conniving plan, whereby he tells Omar that yes, he sanctioned Brandon's killing, but it was Brother who did all the funky torture stuff. The plan backfires massively, as on top of the fact that Stringer causes the entire Barksdale organization to collapse by giving the cops info on Avon which sends him and others into the can, rather than have them duke it out, Brother Mouzone and Omar end up teaming up to take Stringer out. They corner him in an old building and complete their revenge by shooting him dead. Better eulogies are coming, but what we're concerned with today is that, interestingly, Idris Elba, who played Stringer, was devastated when he got the call from series creator David Simon telling him Stringer will be killed off. He was dumbfounded that the showrunners would kill off a character so beloved, and also wondered what it meant for his career. Simon knew the decision would prove unpopular. He even says his own wife called him an idiot for it, but he stands by his decision. As he said, Stringer and Colvin are both from different sides trying to reform the drug trade, and it's unreformable. It belongs to the gangsters and to the career cops who want to get paid, and so Colvin and Stringer needed to have the same arc thematically to make the political point. And at a point at which you let a character or charisma of any of that stuff dictate the story you're telling, you're kind of becoming a hack. It's interesting that the characters of Stringer and Bunny Colvin are mirrored in this show. Both try to reform the game, both are chewed out, both meet at a graveyard symbolizing the death of their idealistic reformation attempts. Both even have the same line when they leave the game.
Get on with it, motherfucker.
Excuse me, Major? Well, get on with it, motherfucker.
And I think we can all agree Simon made the right choice in killing off Stringer. Not that he was a bad character, he was an amazing character. But in terms of the character's arc, the overall narrative, and what came after Season 3, Stringer's ending was perfect and a highlight of a masterpiece of a show. Anyway, Elba's devastation didn't just stop at String being killed off, but the way he was killed off. Because believe it or not, the way the death scene was originally written involves Omar pissing all over Stringer. Elba couldn't believe what he was reading when he saw the script, saying, "He then whips his dick out and pisses on him. I was pissed." And he let Simon know, saying, "I told him it was an absolute tragedy, that it was sensational, that it wasn't going to happen." So Idris Elba pretty much refused to do the scene and managed to convince Simon to remove this part of Stringer's death. Before they filmed the scene, Elba and Simon walked around the set, and Simon assured the actor that he would go on to have a big career, that leaving The Wire would actually free him up to take on new opportunities. Stringer's death, after his attempts at reform, getting rain made by downtown Clay Davis, and his final scene with Avon on the balcony, was poetry in motion. Seeing his limp body in some manky building, just opposite from one of Stringer's own B&B project signs. In fact, the building he died in was one of his own projects as well, wasn't it? Then Omar and Mouzone wordlessly staring at their kill, then at each other, and then walking away. I'm not sure how I would feel, probably kind of startled actually, if Omar whipped it out and started pissing on Stringer. I wonder what Mouzone would have made of that, or would Omar have awkwardly waited until Brother was gone, saying he wanted to give Stringer's corpse a stern talking to, and then proceeds to piss on the poor bloke. You can see why Elba would be against it. On top of being killed, his character is humiliated. Imagine the Wire trivia years down the line. Who's the one character in the show who got pissed on after he died? And everyone collectively laughing and saying, "String!" But the action feels a bit out of character for Omar, doesn't it? Maybe if it had been done in the show before, if it had been established as something that he does or is done in general, you could buy it more. But it comes off as really bizarre. Apparently, this is a thing guys on the streets of Baltimore used to do, which is where Simon got it from, a way for killers to further humiliate their rivals. But with Omar, his beef with Stringer was mainly over the way the Barksdales did Brandon. It went overboard, it was outside the confinements of the game, so he wanted to kill Stringer. Plus, for setting Mouzone on him. So once the deed is done, he's got his revenge. Why would Omar go further? Then again, Stringer had his goons go overboard with Brandon, so perhaps Omar felt he wanted to return the favour. I mean, Omar does to an extent relish the fear and sense of humiliation he puts into people. He even brought a clock with him when he threatened Prop Joe, just for the ran out of time gag. After he robs old face Andre, he says to Ronaldo, "Did you see the look on his face? That's why we get up in the morning." So he definitely enjoys his day job, but this is different. Stringer would already be dead. I believe there is an interview out there somewhere where Simon says Omar urinating on Stringer's body would be an example of him breaking his own code, a deconstruction of the myth of the man. This makes sense. In that regard, being startled at seeing Omar piss on Stringer, thinking it's out of character, is clearly the correct reaction. Perhaps the show could have done more to separate Omar from his legendary reputation. He tends to be remembered by some fans as a flawless badass, the ultimate cool character from The Wire, whereas other characters had moments that highlighted their hypocrisy or showed some flaws. Sure, we have the "makes me sick motherfucker how far we done fell" scene between Omar and the Bunk, but Omar actually comes off looking good in that scene because he clearly has guilt and Bunk's speech resonates. Still though, Stringer's death leaves you speechless. The gravitas of the scene would maybe have been hampered if Omar pissed on him. What do you think? Would you have liked to see this included? Or do you think this scene is better as it is? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and thanks for watching. Before we finish, I'd just like to thank my patrons Nicholas Curtis and Daniel P, and also my channel members Michael Awatwi, Rikers, Damien Irving, Joe Grossberg, the new on Goam24, Tristan Foss and Lone Wanderer.